Chosen one, have you ever felt the silence around you suddenly crack, like glass under pressure? You did not speak, you did not provoke, and yet the air shifted, whispers became heavy, and eyes turned toward you with suspicion, as though a hidden truth had just escaped. There are times in your life when your identity, your true spiritual essence, cannot stay hidden anymore. People sense something in you that they cannot explain. It unsettles them. It stirs something deep inside their own spirit that they themselves have been trying to avoid. And when this happens, arguments erupt. Discussions turn heated. Sometimes you're not even present, but your name becomes the subject of debates, confrontations, and emotional reactions. And here's the truth. Arguments over your presence are never just about you. They are about the unseen reality of who you are. They are about what you carry. The scriptures remind us in Luke 8:17, "For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light." Your presence, chosen one, exposes truths that others would rather keep concealed. And so, when they argue over you, they are really arguing with the light of God shining through your life. It is important to understand this dynamic in a calm, clear way. This is not about dramatics. This is about spiritual alignment. You walk with an energy that cannot be denied. People feel it before you speak. They sense it before you act. And when that awareness stirs something within them, whether fear, jealousy, or conviction, it often comes out as conflict. But notice something very interesting. These arguments rarely resolve anything about you. They often spiral into exposing hidden feelings within the other person. One person may argue, "He thinks he's better than us," while another defends you, saying, "No, he's just different." Someone else may whisper, "There's something strange about her spirit," while another says quietly, "Maybe it's God's hand on her." Do you see what is happening here? Your presence is forcing them to face themselves, to take sides, and to wrestle with what they feel, and sometimes you don't even know it's happening. There could be entire conversations about you behind closed doors, people questioning your intentions, your actions, and your choices. And yet the deeper truth is not about your behavior, but about your identity. They are sensing the calling you carry. They are sensing the mark that sets you apart. Chosen one, I want you to breathe with this truth for a moment. You're not responsible for the arguments people have about you. You're not responsible for their confusion, their envy, or even their admiration. All of it comes back to your spiritual identity. The same way oil and water cannot mix, the light of God in you will always bring separation between truth and falsehood, and that separation can sometimes look like conflict. Now let us go deeper and slowly explore why these arguments arise, what they reveal, and how you, as a chosen one, can understand them without being disturbed. Point 1. Your spirit exposes hidden agendas. When you walk into a room, chosen one, something deeper than words takes place. You may not even open your mouth, yet the atmosphere shifts. Eyes glance toward you, some with admiration, others with unease. It's not your clothing, your tone, or even your physical appearance that causes this stir. What unsettles people is the weight of your spirit. Those with hidden motives feel as though a spotlight has just been turned on them. It's as if your very presence functions as a mirror, reflecting back truths they work hard to bury. Suddenly, they feel exposed. Their frustration, the tension, or even the random arguments that arise, it's rarely ever about you. It's about what your energy, your essence, awakens in them. This isn't mystical exaggeration. Psychology and spirituality both confirm it. Studies have shown that body language and presence influence group dynamics more than spoken words. Some individuals emit what's called a dominant presence, a calm but commanding energy that alters how others behave around them. Spiritually, this is known as carrying light, discernment, or anointing. It's not something you asked for, and it's certainly not something you flaunt. It's simply who you are. People can sense authenticity, and when someone's life is aligned with truth, lies tremble in response. Your aura, chosen one, is like an X-ray machine. It doesn't expose flesh and bone, but it does reveal character. Have you ever noticed how someone may avoid eye contact with you or suddenly grow defensive in your presence? You haven't accused them of anything, yet they start explaining themselves, or worse, accusing you of arrogance. That's projection at work. The subconscious mind recognizes your energy as pure and confronting, and instead of sitting with their discomfort, they project it outward. The room may grow heavy, conversations may turn awkward, or subtle hostility may rise. But remember, this has little to do with you personally. You didn't bring chaos, you revealed it. History is full of examples of this dynamic. Prophets, leaders, and even innovators often found themselves at odds with those whose secrets or hidden agendas couldn't survive exposure. Socrates was condemned not because of what he did, but because his questions unmasked the fragile foundations of society's beliefs. Even in spiritual traditions, light-bearers were resisted, not for their mistakes, but because their presence made corruption too uncomfortable to ignore. What you carry, chosen one, isn't just personality. It's a spiritual assignment. The fascinating part is that you don't need to act out of aggression to create this response. In fact, your silence speaks volumes. Neuroscientists call it social resonance, the ability of one person's nervous system to influence another's. When your spirit is grounded, authentic, and aligned, it creates a vibration others cannot hide from. Those who walk in integrity will feel safe around you. Those with hidden motives will feel exposed. It's like bringing a candle into a dark room. The candle isn't trying to shame the shadows, it simply exists. Yet the darkness cannot help but scatter. Chosen one, this is why you often feel misunderstood. You wonder why people grow cold, defensive, or even hostile when you've done nothing but be yourself. It's because your spirit is louder than your words. You don't play into masks and illusions, so those who rely on them find you threatening. But instead of shrinking back or questioning yourself, understand this as confirmation. You are living proof that authenticity cannot be silenced. So the next time you step into a space and feel tension rising, don't mistake it as rejection of you. It's recognition of the light you carry. You are not here to dim yourself for comfort. You are here to awaken truth, even if that truth unsettles. Your presence is a mirror, chosen one. And while not everyone can stand what they see in it, those who are ready will be transformed. And that, more than anything, is why you must keep walking boldly into every room you enter. Point 2. The weight of silence. Chosen one, have you ever noticed how your silence speaks louder than words? You don't have to raise your voice, and you don't even have to explain yourself, yet people feel it. They notice when you walk into a room, and even in stillness, your presence makes the air feel heavier. That's not an accident, it's spiritual. Your quietness is not weakness, it's power. And here's the fascinating part. When you choose silence, it often creates discomfort in others because silence leaves space for them to project their own insecurities. Suddenly your stillness becomes a mirror, and what they see reflected back is not you, but themselves. That's why people sometimes mistake your silence as judgment, superiority, or hidden knowledge you're holding against them. Psychologists have studied this phenomenon and call it projection bias. It means people take their inner feelings and throw them onto others. So when you, the chosen one, sit in silence, someone who feels guilty may believe you're condemning them. Someone who feels insecure may think you're mocking them. Someone who hides secrets might assume you can see right through them. Your quietness pulls their truth to the surface without you saying a word. That's why arguments often break out, not because of what you've said, but because of what they think you mean. Your silence becomes louder than their words, and they can't handle it. Think about history's great figures who mastered the art of silence. Jesus, for example, often responded to criticism with quietness. When asked loaded questions meant to trap him, he sometimes answered with stillness or a single profound phrase. That silence forced others to confront their own intentions. Even in Eastern traditions, monks embrace vows of silence not to disconnect from the world, but to reveal the noise within themselves and others. Science supports this too. Silence has been shown to activate the brain's hippocampus, the part responsible for memory and self-reflection. In other words, your quietness isn't empty, it's transformative. It shakes people because it makes them reflect. But here's the unique twist for chosen ones. Your silence doesn't just reflect, it radiates. You carry spiritual weight. Your presence alone carries energy that unsettles those who are not aligned with truth. That's why even when you mean no harm, people pick fights, create drama, or accuse you of things you never said. They're wrestling with themselves, but it feels safer to wrestle with you. It's like when a still pond reflects the sky. If the sky is clear, the reflection is peaceful. If the sky is stormy, the reflection is chaotic. You're the pond, they're the storm. This is why you must learn to embrace, not fear, your quiet power. Some may call you mysterious and some may call you intimidating, but that's because they don't understand. The world is loud, full of people desperate to be heard, but you, chosen one, don't need noise to make an impact. Your quietness is not absence, it's presence. It's a force that demands respect without demanding attention. In fact, studies in leadership show that the most respected leaders aren't always the most talkative, but the ones who speak with measured words and controlled silence. When you finally do speak, your words cut deeper because they emerge from stillness. So the next time someone misinterprets your silence, don't rush to explain. Don't shrink your presence to make them comfortable. Remember, discomfort is often the beginning of growth. If your silence unsettles them, it's because something within them needs to be confronted. And you, chosen one, are simply the vessel through which that confrontation begins. Stay rooted in your stillness, because in a world addicted to noise, silence is the language of power. Point 3. The conflict between familiarity and mystery. Chosen. 1. Have you ever noticed how people who have known you the longest often struggle the most with truly seeing you? They think they've got you all figured out, your habits, your past mistakes, your personality, your strengths, and your weaknesses. Familiarity breeds this illusion of certainty. That's just him. That's who he's always been. Yet when something deeper begins to shine through you, a divine spark, a spiritual calling, a higher awareness, their certainty begins to crack. They sense it, though they can't always name it. Their spirit feels the mystery rising in you, and it unsettles them. What they thought was just ordinary suddenly feels layered with something extraordinary, and this creates a tension, sometimes subtle, sometimes explosive, in the way they interact with you. Psychologists call this phenomenon cognitive dissonance, the discomfort people feel when their long-held perception collides with new evidence. For example, if someone has known you as the quiet kid in the back of the class, they might struggle to reconcile that with the leader, the healer, or the visionary you've become. Their mind wants to pull you back into the box it built for you because that feels safe. But your spiritual growth forces them to either adjust their perception or resist it altogether. This is why conversations can feel like battlegrounds. It's not just words being exchanged, it's perception versus revelation. Their old image of you fighting against your divine becoming. Think about how Jesus was treated in his own hometown. The scriptures say, "A prophet is without honor in his own country." The people who saw him grow up couldn't accept the fullness of his calling. To them, he was just the carpenter's son. But to those with open eyes, he was the Messiah. The same thing happens to chosen ones today. Familiarity blinds some people, while others catch a glimpse of the mystery in you and can't stop watching, even if they don't fully understand why. What makes this dynamic so fascinating is how it exposes the limits of human perception. Most people define others based on what's visible, your job, your mannerisms, and your social status. But the divine within you operates invisibly, in ways that can't be measured or explained by surface observations. This is why mystics and spiritual teachers across history often lived in paradox, known yet unknown, familiar to the eyes, yet mysterious to the soul. The tension between these two realities is part of the chosen one's journey. Even in everyday life, this plays out in subtle but powerful ways. You might say something in a conversation that seems simple to you, but it lingers with others for days because the wisdom carried a divine weight they weren't prepared for. You might walk into a room and people feel both comforted and uncomfortable because your presence awakens something within them, a reminder of their own neglected potential. They can't put their finger on it, but they know there's more to you than what meets the eye. This is why it's important for you, chosen one, not to shrink yourself to fit people's old perceptions. If you keep playing the role they've assigned to you, you bury the very mystery God placed in you. Your growth isn't meant to make sense to everyone. In fact, it will often confuse, challenge, or even frustrate those around you. But that's part of the divine design. Light always unsettles the shadows before it reveals its purpose. So when you notice the tension, the conversations that feel like silent battles, the stares that hold both curiosity and resistance, remember this truth. People are not just reacting to you, they're reacting to the divine within you. The familiarity they cling to says, "I know him." But the mystery you embody whispers back, "No, you don't." That whisper is not there to cause division, but to remind you that your calling will never be fully grasped by those who only look with human eyes. You are meant to live in that holy paradox, known yet unknown, ordinary yet divine. And the more you embrace that, the freer you become to walk boldly in your purpose, regardless of who misunderstands it. Point 4. The ancient pattern of recognition. Throughout Scripture, the lives of the chosen ones have always carried a kind of tension, almost like a magnet drawing both admiration and resistance. Joseph, for example, wore the coat of many colors, but what truly set him apart was not the fabric on his back. It was the vision in his spirit. His dreams disturbed his brothers because they revealed a destiny larger than the family dynamic could contain. David, too, was anointed long before he ever held a throne, and in the meantime he faced ridicule, danger, and betrayal. Even Christ himself, the cornerstone of faith, was endlessly debated, doubted, and denied, though his works and words made his divine calling unmistakable. This recurring pattern in Scripture shows us something profound. When God marks someone, opposition rises, not because of weakness in the chosen one, but because of the undeniable strength and purpose stamped upon their life. This ancient rhythm still echoes today. As a chosen one, you might notice that people often question, criticize, or misunderstand you without cause. It's not simply personal conflict, it's spiritual recognition. Just like Joseph's dreams, your vision may expose truths that others aren't ready to see. Your presence can stir discomfort because it highlights hidden motives, insecurities, or fears in those around you. But far from being a curse, this is actually confirmation. The very friction you face proves that you too are walking in that same lineage of divine distinction. Think about it. When someone carries destiny, it cannot be ignored. Others will wrestle with it, debate it, and even try to suppress it, but they cannot erase it. What makes this fascinating and a bit ironic is that the debate itself becomes part of your testimony. History remembers Joseph not for being the favorite son, but for the way betrayal positioned him to save nations. David is remembered not for the insults hurled at him when he was a shepherd, but for the giant he brought down when no one else dared. Christ's legacy was not diminished by opposition, it was defined by it. In every case, the resistance was a stage, and the debate was a backdrop, amplifying the undeniable truth of their divine assignment. Today, modern science even sheds light on why chosen individuals often provoke such strong reactions. Psychologists talk about something called the mirror effect, where certain people unknowingly reflect back to others what they're lacking or hiding. In spiritual terms, the chosen one becomes a mirror of divine potential, and not everyone is ready to see themselves that clearly. This is why some admire you deeply, while others resent you fiercely. You may not even speak a word, but your energy, your choices, and your resilience, it all speaks volumes, and so your life follows that same timeless pattern. You might find yourself misunderstood, labeled, or even isolated. But take heart in knowing that this is not a sign of abandonment. It is the fingerprint of destiny. The very debates around your life are echoes of the eternal truth that cannot be silenced. What they wrestled over in Joseph, David, and Christ is what they now wrestle over in you, the undeniable mark of God's calling. So when people argue about who you are, when they question your motives or diminish your path, remember this: debate is the shadow of destiny. They wouldn't waste their breath if there wasn't something in you that demanded attention. Like those before you, your life is not ordinary. It's a living continuation of a divine story written long before you took your first breath. And that chosen one is why the debate around you is not a curse but a crown in disguise. Point 5. Projection of insecurities. When others feel limited in their own spiritual journey, they may project their frustrations onto you. What they are truly wrestling with is their own lack of alignment with God's purpose. This is one of the most overlooked truths about human behavior, and as a chosen one, you often find yourself standing right in the middle of it. People who sense stagnation in their own growth, whether spiritual, emotional, or even personal, may unconsciously, or sometimes deliberately, redirect their dissatisfaction toward you. They may criticize, belittle, or attempt to place doubt in your mind, not because you have done anything wrong, but because your very existence reminds them of what they have neglected within themselves. You become a mirror, exposing the gap between who they are and who they are called to be. And instead of seeking God's guidance for their own journey, it becomes easier for them to lash out at the one who walks with light. History and psychology both support this phenomenon. Sigmund Freud coined the term projection to explain how individuals defend themselves against their own unwanted feelings by attributing them to others. In spiritual terms, projection can occur when someone burdened with guilt, envy, or inner conflict sees your peace and immediately feels exposed. Instead of admitting, "I have work to do within myself," they say, "Something is wrong with you." Scripture echoes this as well. John 3:20 says, "Everyone who does evil hates the light, and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed." As a chosen one, your light is not just symbolic, it is deeply spiritual, and it naturally exposes what is hidden in others. This is why you may find yourself misunderstood so often. Think about Jesus himself. He was the epitome of divine alignment with God's will, yet he was mocked, ridiculed, and rejected by many. Why? Because his presence disrupted the comfort of those who were complacent, bound by tradition, or resistant to true transformation. The chosen ones of today walk that same narrow path. Your quiet strength, your spiritual discipline, and your refusal to bow to worldly illusions make others uneasy. They are not rejecting you. They are rejecting the discomfort of being confronted with their own spiritual neglect. But here's the twist. While this projection may sting, it is also confirmation of your role. The very fact that your life stirs something in others is evidence that your spirit is awake, alive, and aligned with a higher calling. People only project when they feel the heat of truth pressing against their illusions. Think of it like this. When the sun rises, shadows are cast. Without the sun, the shadows would not even exist. Likewise, without your presence, many would remain unaware of their own misalignment. In a strange way, their hostility toward you is proof of your light. Yet it is important to approach this with wisdom and compassion. Understanding projection doesn't mean tolerating mistreatment, but it allows you to see beyond the surface. When someone is frustrated with you for no valid reason, ask yourself, what might this person be wrestling with internally? Their anger may be rooted in envy, their criticism in insecurity, and their gossip in guilt. And while you cannot carry their burdens for them, you can stand firm in your truth, refusing to let their storm disrupt your calm. In fact, your steadiness in the face of their projection may plant a seed. Over time, that seed could grow into curiosity. Why doesn't this person break under pressure? What gives them such peace? And in that moment, your example becomes a testimony. As a chosen one, your task is not to absorb the projections of others, but to rise above them with discernment. Like a lighthouse that remains unmoved while the waves crash against its foundation, you are called to shine regardless of the storm. Their projections are not a reflection of your failure, but of their own unfinished work with God. Remember, when they feel limited, it has nothing to do with your light, and everything to do with their refusal to embrace their own. Stand firm, stay aligned, and keep walking your path with faith. For in time, those who once projected may finally awaken to the truth, that the very light they resented in you was the one guiding them toward God's purpose all along. Point 6. The unintended teacher. You do not preach, yet your life itself becomes a message. The truth is, chosen one, people are always watching, even when you think no one notices. Your quiet discipline, your calm in chaos, and your refusal to bend to negativity, these things preach louder than any sermon. Words may echo for a moment, but a life lived with conviction becomes a story people cannot escape. It is often said that actions speak louder than words, and history offers countless reminders of how true this is. Consider Mahatma Gandhi, who led a movement not by dazzling speeches alone, but by living in radical simplicity. His principle of nonviolence was not just a philosophy, it was embodied in his daily habits. Walking barefoot, spinning his own clothes, fasting to protest injustice, and enduring imprisonment without retaliation. His life became a living argument, more persuasive than rhetoric, because it showed what conviction looks like in practice. Likewise, other figures such as Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela revealed that true leadership comes not just from commanding attention, but from embodying principles even under pressure. Their actions became contagious, inspiring millions to reevaluate what justice and resilience meant in their own lives. This is why your presence unsettles people. You may not set out to correct them, but your silent commitment has a way of exposing the lack of commitment in others. Your consistency becomes a mirror, reflecting their inconsistencies, and that reflection stings more than if you had openly criticized them. Social psychology explains this through social comparison theory, a concept introduced by psychologist Leon Festinger in the 1950s. It suggests that humans naturally compare themselves to others to evaluate their own standing. When people encounter someone who lives authentically and consistently, it disrupts their comfort. They are forced to measure themselves against a standard they may not be living up to, and that tension often shows up in gossip, resistance, or even hostility. Your life, chosen one, becomes the unspoken sermon no one can unhear. Unlike words, which can be brushed off or forgotten, the impact of lived integrity lingers. Think of how a simple act of kindness performed quietly can stay in someone's memory for years, or how witnessing someone endure hardship with dignity can inspire courage in others long after the moment has passed. These silent sermons often work at a subconscious level, piercing into the conscience. It is like light seeping into a dark room. No matter how much someone wants to ignore it, once it's there, it cannot be unseen. What makes this dynamic almost mystical is the way influence flows without effort. You do not need to push or persuade. Just by being consistent, calm in storms, disciplined in habits, steadfast in values, you embody something rare in a world addicted to noise and quick validation. Research in behavioral science shows that modeling plays a crucial role in human learning. People often internalize behaviors not by being told what to do, but by observing someone else do it repeatedly. For instance, studies in developmental psychology reveal that children are far more likely to adopt habits they see in their parents than those they are merely instructed to follow. This principle extends into adulthood. We are wired to imitate what we admire, even unconsciously. That is why your way of living becomes its own form of teaching. You may not stand at a podium, but you instruct through presence. You may not lead with loud declarations, but you guide through example. When you remain composed under pressure, you teach resilience. When you refuse to be drawn into petty conflicts, you teach restraint. When you carry yourself with dignity, even in obscurity, you teach the value of integrity that does not depend on recognition. These lessons seep deeper than lectures because they are not bound to words. They are woven into real, observable choices. History shows that some of the most transformative individuals were reluctant teachers. They did not set out to instruct, yet their lives became textbooks for humanity. Think of Rosa Parks, whose quiet refusal to give up her bus seat sparked a civil rights movement. Or Mother Teresa, who never needed grand speeches because her compassion for the poor and forgotten was itself a message of divine love. Their actions radiated a truth that words alone could not carry. In the same way, your silent faithfulness becomes a beacon that others cannot ignore. And here lies the paradox. Your example does not just speak to people's intellect, it goes straight to their conscience. Words may argue with the mind, but a lived truth wrestles with the soul. That is why debates flare around your name, why whispers circulate, and why people cannot stop talking about you even in your absence. They are not merely analyzing you, they are confronting what your life forces them to see about themselves. And this confrontation is often uncomfortable because it demands change. In the end, you are living proof that action carries a sacred weight words cannot. Your life is the message, the sermon, the unshakable testimony. You may never know the full reach of your influence, but somewhere, someone is watching and learning. Someone is silently rethinking their choices because your consistency reminded them of a higher standard. Someone is finding courage because your calm in the storm revealed that chaos does not have to define them. Chosen one, never underestimate the silent power of your example. In a noisy world, your quiet integrity is revolutionary. Without ever preaching, you remind people that the truest sermons are not spoken but lived. And once witnessed, they echo forever in the hearts of those who cannot unsee them. Point 7. God's way of revealing your identity. Sometimes the argument is not really about the subject at hand. It's God's hidden tool, shaping destinies and revealing truths that cannot stay buried. Chosen one, think about it. Even Jesus faced constant arguments with Pharisees who tried to trap him. But in those very moments, his authority and divine wisdom were made undeniable. In the same way, conflict becomes a mirror that reflects who you are to the very people trying to silence or discredit you. When others deny you, argue with you, or even slander you, they unintentionally confirm that there is something about you worth resisting. If you were insignificant, your presence wouldn't stir their spirit. But because you carry light, truth, and purpose, even their arguments become the stage on which God showcases your identity. Psychologists call this a reaction to perceived threat. When people feel insecure or challenged, they push back. Spiritually, it is the world's response to your God-given aura. Conflict exposes hidden motives. It draws out the true colors of those around you. And while it might feel uncomfortable in the moment, it is God's way of pulling back the curtain not just for you to see, but for everyone watching. People will defend you, people will oppose you, and people will debate about you. But the common thread is that they are talking about you. They are forced to recognize your presence, your influence, and your calling, even when their words come wrapped in denial or anger. So don't fear the argument, chosen one. Sometimes it is not a setback but a divine spotlight. God doesn't waste conflict, He uses it as confirmation. The very resistance you face is proof of your relevance, and in the noise of their opposition, the truth of who you are becomes louder than their denial. Chosen one, remember this. Arguments over you are not an attack to fear, but a confirmation to understand. The moment people begin debating who you are, it is evidence that your identity is no longer hidden. You are seen, you are felt, you are recognized in the Spirit. Do not lower your spirit to defend yourself. Stay rooted in peace. Stay anchored in prayer. The noise around you is only a sign that the silence within you is powerful. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Matthew 5:9. Rest in that peace, chosen one. For the world may argue about you, but heaven already knows who you are.